welcome to Conversations in Agriculture. My name is Conrad Weaver, and I'm your host for the show today. And I'm a filmmaker and storyteller, and we like to bring farmers onto our program to tell the story of agriculture and what's going on around the world. And today we have an amazing guest with us who is joining us, and she's going to be with us in just a minute. And first, I want to tell you that our show today is brought to you by Thirsty Land, the documentary that I produced a few years ago. It's a story about the drought in the American West. You can check it out on Amazon. And it's also brought to you today by the Great American Wheat Harvest, which is an Emmy Award winning film that I produced that tells a story about the harvest that happens every summer from Texas to Montana. You can also find this film on Amazon. And so it's good to be here. I started this show a few months ago to bring farmers to the table to tell their story, to connect with consumers. And today we have the amazing privilege of having Michelle Miller on the show, and she's better known as the Farm Babe. And she's an international keynote speaker, a columnist for agdaily.com, an online influencer, and she is a farmer. Michelle, welcome to the show. Hang on, I got to unmute you. It always works better if I unmute the guest, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here.
yeah, so we were scheduled to be on last week, and due to the crazy weather that came through the Midwest, you had some internet issues, and so here we are a week later. So,
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah.
welcome. Thank you for coming on. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do?
Sure. So I am a farmer, like you said, go as a farm babe on social media. I started my social media outreach about 5.5 years ago, just as a way to bridge the gap between consumers and farmers. So I'm here on a row crop and livestock farm in Northeast Iowa, but my other passion is travel. So I love to just travel, learn about where our food comes from, and just promote agriculture from all parts of the world, and give experts, science, farmers a bigger voice. So I use social media, writing, speaking, any outlet I can to celebrate our industry.
So, how long have you been a farmer? How long have you worked on, in the agriculture world?
Actually, only about maybe 6 or 7 years. Yeah, so I kind of grew up in it. I was a 4-H kid growing up. My friends were farm kids. But I actually went to school in Los Angeles and lived in Chicago for most of my 20s. So I was the big city girl who started dating a farmer and moved to Iowa for him. And that's kind of where it all began.
Yeah. So, what do you guys grow there in Iowa?
Corn, soybeans, rye, hay, cattle, and sheep.
Very good. And so,
Yeah.
what kind of, have you had a good year so far? Has it been, I know it's been crazy with COVID for all of us, but how has that impacted you guys?
Yeah, I also usually do farmers markets, which I can't do at all this year
Mm.
because we cannot get an appointment with any of the butchers. So normally, doing farmers markets is a nice little side hustle for me that I'm unable to do. I think we can't get our next available butcher appointment until like March of next year, I want to say. So it's pretty
Wow.
crazy. So I'm pretty much out of business. So that kind of sucks. But we had a good spring. The soil conditions, weather, everything was really good. And then it's just been insane storms, rain, kind of flattened the corn a little bit. Well, a lot of it
I
actually.
saw some of those pictures in Iowa where the corn was just totally flat. Do you guys have
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Wow.
it's been crazy. So it's 2020. I wish you could see my t-shirt. My t-shirt has a dumpster fire on it and it says 2020.
Pretty much
Because
what
that's
it is.
yeah, I mean it's just like what's next? You get the murder hornets. It's like I'm just waiting for
Right.
Godzilla to come out over the
Right.
hills and just
Or like a giant earthquake that levels a city or something,
yeah,
terrible like
exactly.
that. But
Yeah,
yeah.
earthquakes in Iowa. We're just going to start getting hurricanes here. Why not,
Right. You have it all there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so only 6, 7 years in farming. I mean, what was that life like changing from being the big city girl to moving to the country and living on a farm?
It's just awesome. I mean, that's why I kind of started my page was because I was getting such a kick out of it. I was like this Green Acres, like in real life, right? Where I was like, goodbye, city life. And so people were questioning and wondering, like, how are you going to make that adjustment? And it's been great. Like, I love it way more than I ever thought I would. And I've really just taken the bull by the horns, pun intended,
Mhm.
to really, I love this life. I feel like I've really found my passion and my calling in life. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's good.
What was the biggest surprise for you in moving to the farm?
When I realized that I was falling in love with a man who was growing Monsanto GMOs, because coming from the city, I was just like, I thought they were terrible. And, there's
Hmm.
so much misinformation. I was the Whole Foods organic only lover, and so to go from uh, kind of believing what I believed in to starting to date and be submerged in real life rural Iowa. I mean, we don't even have a stoplight in the whole county. That's how rural it is. I'm 89 miles away from the closest Starbucks. So my
Oh
friends
no, that would be a
yeah,
disaster.
I know, right? My friends get such a kick out of it when they come to visit. I say, guess how far away from Starbucks we are. And then I just watch the gasps
And they're like,
ensue.
we're getting out of here tomorrow,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Like, I know we said we were going to stay for 3 days, but yeah, we have to go. I have to wash my hair.
Right.
But yeah, so kind of getting off on getting a
Mhm.
sidetrack there, but yeah, I don't know. It's just I think just realizing that I was duped. Realizing that food labels aren't always what they seem, and farmers are really awesome people with a really science based career that
Mhm.
just really needs to be celebrated.
That's the one thing that I've said for years. And if anyone's watched this show before, you've heard me say it before, but I say that farmers are some of the smartest people I know because they
Seriously.
have to know all this stuff. They have to know chemistry and biology and finance and the markets, and they got to study all that stuff to be able to have a successful operation.
Yes.
Yeah. So what was it that I mean? You said you hear you're with a Monsanto growing corn farmer that what was it about that you're like what changed your mind? What was the flip there?
Just when I was asking questions about it, I mean, he just looked at me like I had three heads, like it was no big deal at all. And the fact that he was so nonchalant and his response was just like, GMOs do great things for farmers. What? Like he had never I think a lot of farmers are disconnected from the disconnect. I think
Hmm.
that they don't even realize all the big city myths that are out there.
Hmm.
Which city are you in? Refresh my memory.
So I'm just outside of Washington D.C.
Oh
on the
yeah,
East
okay.
Coast. Yep.
So you're
Yeah.
probably submerged in that too if you're pretty close to or in cities often.
Yeah, I'm actually live in a rural area, so I live in an agriculture community. We have like actually one of the largest dairy farms on the East Coast, just 4 miles from my house.
Oh,
And
nice.
so northern Frederick County here is very agriculture, very rural. And so I live in a small town, but Baltimore's an hour away, DC's an hour and 15 away,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
I'm 4 hours from New York City. So there's a lot of urban influence, and a lot of people in our neighborhoods here work in the cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, for me as an advocate for farming and agriculture, helping my neighbors and people around me understand that better, that's what I love doing.
Yeah.
And it seems that's what you're doing in your outreach and your advocacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, farmers take so much for granted. It's like a lot of times it's all they know, right? It's what they've
Right.
done their whole lives. They haven't really lived in a city, haven't really experienced, what that's like. So we all are kind of exposed to misinformation with social media or whatnot, but I think it's a completely different ball game when you kind of live that, like I
Hmm.
used to, right?
Yeah. So what was it that got people that where you got people's attention? Because you rose to a lot of notoriety and on social media. What was it that kind of sparked that?
Yeah, the very first post I ever did that went really viral was one where I talked about how much herbicide we applied to GMO fields. I was really getting sick and tired of people saying, "Oh, GMOs are just drenched in toxic chemicals and poison, and Monsanto's trying to poison the world with all these chemicals." And I was like, "What? Like, what's the real facts?"
Hmm.
And so I just wrote a post on Facebook that was on my Farm Babe page that just talked about how 99% of what you see that comes out of a sprayer is water, and it's 22 ounces per acre. So it's when you put that into perspective of like two beer cans on an area of land the size of a football field, it's like, and we only spray once or twice a year. And so people were just mind blown because they had never stopped to think about it. They had always just heard, oh, conventional foods are just drenched in chemicals. You have to buy organic. And then it's like, well, then you realize that organic uses pesticides too, right? Like organic does not mean chemical free or whatever. And so it's just really interesting when I kind of started busting these myths and bringing the real facts about chemicals. Those posts really were always going viral. So focused
What
a lot on that. And yeah.
and what are people saying then when you kind of reveal the truth to these things? What's their reaction?
Just surprised, like pleasantly surprised. Like I think people are just happy that they don't have to spend three times the money on food, right? Like once you kind of realize, hey, if you want to spend four, five, $6 a dozen on eggs, whatever you like the taste, you like where it comes from, whatever, go for it. But don't do it based purely on fear mongering or misinformation, which is a popular way to sell.
Hmm.
So once you kind of expose that, then people are kind of like, wow, wait a minute. Um, so yeah, I think people just get excited, and then the agriculture community is just like they're just full of applause because they feel like they want to be heard, but they don't always get the opportunity to be heard. So farming community has been very supportive of providing the facts, and consumers have been very thankful to realize that if they decide to buy the cheapest eggs or the cheapest produce, that they're not poisoning their family. You know what
Hmm.
I mean?
It's one of my goals here on this show, and to really connect farmers to the consumer to help the consumer better understand, what the farmer's doing. What are some of those things that you feel that farmers need to do to be a louder voice to really tell their story? What are some of those things that they can do?
I mean, social media is so easy, and it's free, and it can go viral, and you can help amplify content, or you can create your own content. But I think that we should never write off a communication opportunity. Like I think a lot of times I've heard from numerous people in agriculture. They said, I don't know how you do it. I just want to get so mad at these people, that people spreading misinformation. And I said, no, no, no. Like, you got to put yourself in their shoes, right? Like just because somebody's spreading misinformation doesn't mean that they're ill-intentioned, doesn't mean that they are a stupid person. It doesn't mean that they are a bad person. It just means that they probably haven't been exposed to the other side of the argument.
Hmm.
And so as much as there's times where I just want to throw my phone against the wall and like get really mad, I just take a deep breath and a step back and reply to this person's comment with a empathetic situation. Like I completely understand. I worry about that stuff too. I completely understand. I wouldn't want to feed my family something that I thought was bad as well. And then, but here's the facts of it.
Hmm.
So open dialogue is really important. And I actually just had the chief marketing officer of Burger King out here yesterday.
I saw that on Twitter. What happened with
Yeah,
that? I mean, what
I
was
was so excited.
what brought that about?
This is a
And
perfect example of how the power of Twitter, right? The power of agriculture communication is you have somebody this high profile in a corporation this large putting out this ad that was so offensive. Did you see this?
I didn't see the ad.
Oh
No.
my God, it's so bad. It's this hashtag cows menu that Burger King did that was so offensive to agriculture. I mean, it was like little kids wearing gas masks, like the polar ice caps melting because of cow farts. I mean, it
Oh
was
my
just insane.
goodness.
And like methane doesn't even come from farts. Like 97% of it comes from this end. And so we're like, it was factually incorrect. It was insulting. It was just bad, bad, bad,
Mm.
bad. And so I sent a tweet to their chief marketing officer, and I sent out some tweets. I did a bunch of social media posts that were, going viral. People were really upset. Burger King got a lot of backlash.
Mm.
And then their PR people reached out to me and said, "Hey, we'd like to schedule a call with Fernando, who's the chief marketing officer." We had a Zoom call, and he came out. I said, "Come on out. We'll show you the true
Wow.
story of sustainability. We'll show you what farmers do to protect the environment. So, how we mitigate methane, because it was like a lot of their messages, right? Was we're trying
Hmm.
to reduce methane by feeding cattle lemongrass, right? Well, we all want to reduce methane. We all care about the planet, but there's so many
Hmm.
ways we can do that. So I took him to a dairy farm with an anaerobic digester. That's a methane
Hmm.
digester. Took him
Hmm.
out to our farm. Took him to this huge cattle feedlot, and then had some experts out here from Iowa State, from the Iowa Farm Bureau, and just a great team of people to help. And it was really successful. And they filmed. They had a camera crew out here. They're planning on doing some videos to highlight and showcase agriculture. They made some edits to some of their commercials and advertisements with the cows menu. It was wonderful. Like I could not have asked for a better couple days. And they learned a lot, and we were able
Wow.
to we were able to bridge that gap.
Man, good job. What an amazing opportunity, and the power of social media,
All
right?
it took was a tweet. And
Yeah.
this is what I tell people. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do. Just because you're a farmer in a rural community doesn't mean that your voice can't have an impact. It absolutely can. And just remember to be polite, be rational, and put yourself in their shoes and stay optimistic, because that's what farmers do. We're always optimists, right? We
Yeah.
have to be.
I think sometimes, and I was having a dialogue with someone about something different, but similar, where there's two sides, and so
Hmm.
oftentimes we're in our own zone, and all we see is what we see,
Hmm.
and we don't take that step to listen to the other side. And I
Right.
think for every side, we need to understand both sides so that we can make a valid argument, right?
Yeah.
And I think sometimes in agriculture, farmers, and I've seen tweets and I've seen Facebook posts that are just very narrow, have a very narrow view, and you could tell they have not taken time to listen to the other side. And I've seen
Right.
posts on the other side as well. I think
Right.
for all of us, we need to have, you know, yeah, an open mind, but be able to listen to the other side of what they're saying so that we can, defend our position, right?
Exactly. Yeah. I always try to, if I have opportunities to attend conferences or different events, well, BC, obviously, right
Right.
before COVID, um, any opportunity to be submerged. Like I would go to vegan animal rights conferences. You know what I mean? I would go to people that I don't agree with at all. Just so I can have a better understanding of that and have these conversations, because not everybody's an extremist. We
Mm-hmm.
feel like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's plenty of people in the movable middle that just don't get a chance to talk to us. And if we continue to live in our bubble and not, we have to quit talking to ourselves. And in agriculture, we're so good at
Yeah.
that. We're Your vibe attracts your tribe, is what we
Yeah,
always say, right?
exactly. Yep.
And yeah, you really have to remember to think outside of it, and not be shy, not be
Yeah.
scared.
What do you think the future of agriculture is, as you see it?
Oh,
20
it's just
years from now, what's it going to look like?
I think it's incredible. I mean, the technology that we have access to, we're just, it's just like any other aspect of our lives. We're improving leaps and bounds, and technology and everything else in our lives. That technology is only going to get cheaper. It's only going to get, more adopted, better adopted. I think the biggest couple of the biggest threats to agriculture, one would be tradition,
Right.
and one would be, market price. I mean, that's the biggest challenge is, we need our farmers. And it's just, in my opinion, if I had a magic wand, I would just change public policy to say, it's illegal to pay farmers less than what your product is worth to even break even. It's like we just sold cattle Wednesday night, and we're losing thousands upon
Mm.
thousands of dollars because market price is below the cost. That's insane.
And
How
it's crazy that I go to the grocery store and beef is like 2 or 3 times higher than what it was, BC before COVID.
Right, right.
And but yet you farmers aren't seeing that.
It's insane, and it should be illegal. And there's investigations going on right now with some of these major packers, but it's like something's got to give. And people that have been in farming their whole life, they just go, well, you take the good years with the bad years, and that's how it's always been. Okay, but tradition is the biggest threat to agriculture. Just because that's the
Mm.
way it's always been doesn't mean that's the way that it always needs to be. Our food
Right.
goes somewhere, right?
Right.
And even when you think about like cattle, we're not just selling beef. We're selling beef. We're selling leather, cosmetics, lotions, soaps, textiles. There's hundreds of byproducts that all these corporations are making bank off of.
Mm-hmm.
Pay
But
the
it's not
damn
coming back
farmer.
down. Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
coming down to you.
Yeah. Everybody
Yeah.
wants to bitch. They all want to say, oh, we need to go regenerative. We need to do this, that, and the other. And so we do. Like
Mm-hmm.
we've earned awards on our farm for Farmers of the Year for soil and water conservation. We're doing the right thing. We're regenerative. We're friggin'
Mm-hmm.
everything. We're everything that the consumer wants and can prove it. We have the data to prove it. But for what? We don't make any
Just
more money off of it.
right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's like
So
I'd
where's the
like to see.
incentive? So where's the incentive
Right.
for a farmer to do these things?
Yeah, I mean, we do it because it's the right thing to do, right? And then, there are some conservation programs in place that help us out, cover cost sharing and everything, and then you can improve your yields. I mean, there is a lot of benefits, and doing right by the environment is the right thing to do. But but when you have people that are doing it differently, it's like any other career. If you are kicking ass, you get a promotion, right?
Right.
And then
Yeah.
with farmers, it's like you're kicking ass, but we're going to pay you $3.50 a bushel, and the guy next to you gets paid $3.50 a bushal, but he tills and he doesn't use cover crops, and he could still be a good farmer, right? I mean, different
Mhm.
strokes for different folks, different regions, soil types, whatever. But it's like, man, like Gotta
Yeah.
something's gotta change. I'm sick and tired of watching farms go under. I'm sick and tired of them
Yeah.
not be able to turn a profit. And it's like,
Are you seeing farms go under in Iowa?
oh sure, they're going
Yeah.
under everywhere, you know?
Yeah, I
So
was talking with actually a few weeks ago. We had Pat O'Toole on. He's a sheep and cattle rancher out of Wyoming, and he said
hmm
we've been in business on our ranch here for 140 years. I don't know how much longer we can sustain it.
right.
You know,
They want sustainability, but isn't sustainability that has to be profitability too, right?
exactly, exactly. You know, they can't raise sheep and raise cattle and put them off to market and not get anything back for them, and
hmm
make less selling them, for their meat or for whatever than what they cost to raise them. I mean,
Right.
that's an insane business plan.
Right. Yeah.
Any other corporation would file Chapter 11 and go bankrupt right away.
Yeah.
And but yet we need farmers to feed the world.
hmm
And so the struggles that farmers have, I think, are amazing and are sad. Uh, all of us are pretty well fed. We're still going to eat, right? So why not share some of that profit with the farmers who are
Yeah.
actually providing the food for us?
Yeah, I talked about this a lot with Burger King too, and I think one of the things that we talked about when he was here was I said, "So where does Burger King source their beef?" And he's like, "Cargill?" Like he has no idea where it comes
Mm,
from. And as farmers, we have no idea where it goes. And that was
mm-hmm,
a really big conversation of something you could tell we were both equally passionate about, which is treating farmers fairly and knowing where it comes from. Because if they can tell the story of farming, where their burgers come from, that would be really cool.
yeah.
And then is there a corporation out there that's willing to say, hey, we're sourcing from these farmers and we are going to pay them what they're worth? That would be a game changer. If there was a
Mm,
fast food restaurant out there that cared more about their supply chain and taking care of everybody as opposed to just the top end, oh man, they'd crush it. They'd
mm,
crush it.
sure, sure,
Values. Where are the values?
right. So what encouragement can you give to young farmers who are just starting out or thinking about going into it? I mean, what's in it for them if it looks this bleak for a lot of farmers?
Oh
Well, what's
man.
the incentive to go into this business?
Yeah, yeah, I know. And there's so many different niche markets you can do too, right? I mean, there's if you want to do your own sales and marketing, you can do that as well. And I do feel like the future looks bright in terms of technology. Like
Hmm.
my first thought to your question was when you said what's the future, I said amazing. Like it is. It's incredible. It's dynamic. It's great family values. Every day is different. You get to be outside doing things you love and enjoy the fruits of your labor, and there's so many amazing benefits. But then when you see the technology, about how you can get a text message when your cow's about to give birth, or get an email notification if the temperature in your pig barn is off a couple degrees, and it's better computer monitoring technology. I mean, just tractors that drive themselves. I mean, everything, right? So it's neat because people that are interested in tech, which our society generally is, you've got your
Hmm.
Teslas, your latest iPhones, whatever. It's like we can share that same message about agriculture and realize that it's a very um, exciting, interesting, fascinating, diverse career with plenty of opportunity. We just got to get through these tough times and hoping that the tough times are over sooner than later.
It's like one
But
farmer
it's
I once,
still,
yeah,
and
one farmer I
farmers,
once said that it was like, there's always next year, you
yeah,
know,
and next year, and next year, and
and
next
yeah,
year.
and when you say that every year, for 10 years in a
Yeah,
row, then you're in trouble, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
but I
um,
mean, ask any farmer, right? Like we're still here, we're still hanging on, we're going to be fine. And it's like, yeah, that's pretty standard. I mean, every
mhm.
farmer is going to say, but I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't change it for the world. I wouldn't have it any other way. And like, it's so true. And you have people that come out here and they're just like, God, this is amazing. Like you live in such a beautiful, beautiful place. And it's like, we really do. Like we have it pretty good.
Yeah.
So
I've always enjoyed going out, especially to the Midwest. I mean, farmers everywhere are like this, but in the Midwest especially, there's nice people. I mean,
yeah,
I mean, you meet some, there's always some, bad eggs, you know, in every basket, but for the most part, farmers are nice people. I mean,
yeah,
I've stayed with farmers in their home. Don't stay in a motel, stay at my house.
yeah. It's
And
always, almost always like that. Yeah.
So it's if you live in a city and you've never been out to the farm, go visit a farm
Yeah.
and go check them out, right? So
Everybody just loves it. Yeah.
yeah, so So speaking of that, how should I know there's been stories that have surfaced from bad operators. How transparent do farmers need to be? Should there
Pretty
be some
transparent.
should there be some increase in that? Should there be some changes in that for some sectors?
100%. I think farmers need to be more transparent, even doing like school field trips and stuff like that, like get them educated young so they understand what goes on. Farmers need to be more proactive as opposed to reactive, which, I mean, yesterday, it's like I took the Burger King guys around, and I said, so what did you think? Well, one of the feedlots was really big. It was like 3,500 head of beef cattle in a traditional covered feedlot,
Hmm.
and he's like, wow, I was kind of surprised as to why they were a little close together. But then you kind of explain, well, that pen looked that way because they're about ready to go to market, so they don't have as much room, but there's a certain stocking density you follow, and then they still can all lay down like it's always perception, right? Like you see them, they all come to you, so you feel like they're really crammed in there because they're close to you. They still have room behind, but you don't see that. And so, the animal rights activists are the ones that really capitalize on this, right? Like they angle the pictures a certain way and they do things a certain way to make it look a lot worse than it is. And there's no science behind what they say. It's just emotion because they want people to stop eating meat. But when we're proactive and they hear from us first, the fact that he didn't know that animals were raised like that was like, okay, well, at least the vegans haven't gotten to him. You know what I mean? Like the animal rights activists, because
Mm.
automatically people think, oh, these factory farms are just horrific and blah, blah, blah. And then they see it and they say, oh, no, it's not. But we got to it first, right? So now if the bad guys get to him, for example, you just say,
Mhm.
well, I don't know, I'm kind of skeptical of that because I know some farmers. Well, let me text my friend quick and see if this is true, because they've been there and seen it firsthand
Mhm.
and learned that hyperbole misinformation behind factory farming probably is not true.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, sharing it is exciting, but people love to know where their food comes from, and everybody loves a good agritourism story. Like you just go apple picking. It's so
Mhm.
cute, right? It's so lovely,
Right.
and the
It's the
the ladies get
Instagrammable
all,
moments, right?
yes, exactly, and it's wonderful. But everything's cool. My friends come out here and I was like, I used to live on a beautiful white sand beach in Florida. Like none of you guys came to visit me. You all come visit me on the farm. So yeah, we can go to a beach anytime, but we want to come here. We want to go to a real working commercial farm that like is not agritourism. Like it's just a hard working, like it is what it is kind of place, but people love that. And
Yeah.
I think in agriculture, we have to remember that. We have to share the story that people want to hear from you. They want to know where their food comes from. And it's incredible. When you reach through to people, it's the best feeling.
Yeah. So, what over the course of your time doing this in the past, what, 6, 7 years, what's been the highlight for you?
Um, well, I've done like, I mean, I think the Burger King thing was pretty cool. Like I was on Dr. Drew last year,
Oh,
which was
cool.
pretty exciting. Yeah. So just to be out in LA and get that celebrity platform with Dr. Drew Pinsky on his podcast was cool. I've been on some pretty major podcasts with like, just LA people, and
Hmm.
just,
Hmm.
I think whenever I get to speak and do presentations in front of people that have zero agriculture background, like it is just so fun because you ask, you know, Q&A, anybody have any questions? And it's like every hand goes up. I mean,
Hmm.
they're so eager to learn and they never get to speak to farmers. So that's really rewarding. So I think
Hmm.
just moments like that where you can have an impact, I've been featured in Forbes and stuff like that. And just keep on keeping on. But it's just a good moment when you get to do something that's really cool outside of the egg bubble, you know?
Right. Right. So, what's next for you? What you got on the agenda, if you can say?
Um, Let me think. I mean, I'm in the process of possibly starting a pun cast.
Yeah.
I don't want to call it a podcast. I want to call it Disagree, a
Okay.
Farm Babe pun cast. So,
Oh.
might be doing that. I'm in talks now, so I don't know if
Hmm.
that's a for sure thing yet, but that's a possibility. And I'm just waiting for this COVID stuff to let up really because I've had 31 events cancel. So I'm
Wow.
really eager to get back on the road. I'm getting on a plane Monday for the first time in since March.
Hmm.
I'm going to Alaska, but that's just a fun trip to just go goof off and social distance with the grizzly bears and do a lot of fishing. So that's just for fun. But yeah, I'm eager to get back to work and just have life get back to normal. But
Yeah, where are
so
you
we'll
guys
see.
on your farm? Where are you in the cycle of harvest and growing crops? Where are you at in that cycle?
We have some cattle that are market ready now. We'll have lambs market ready here in about a month, and let's see, our corn and soybeans and everything should be ready to go for harvest in like October.
Mhm.
So yeah, we're in a busy time, I guess.
Yeah, very cool.
Hmm.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for being willing to come on the show and rebooking and rescheduling so we can get you on here. I really appreciate it. It's been
Yeah,
a lot of fun talking to you, and congratulations on all your success and in the
yeah.
social media world and being a voice for the farmer. I think we need more people like that, like you,
Thanks.
who are telling the story and who are telling the story so that the consumer can understand, right?
Yeah, thanks.
And so
Well,
what
spoken like a true farmer. I wouldn't have it any other way.
so where's the best place where people can reach you or can follow you?
um,
What?
my website is thefarmbabe.com. Farm Babe is my Facebook page, which is where I do most of my outreach. I'm a columnist on agdaily.com, and then you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, anything like that. At the Farm Babe is my handle. So
Well, there you heard it, folks. You need to go out there and check out the Farm Babe on all the social sites and connect with Michelle and see what she's up to. And who knows who will come knocking next? You had Burger King there yesterday. Who next week you might have? Can we say you might have? What's that one chain that did that really nasty campaign a while back that I refuse to eat at now?
Chipotle.
Yes, that.
Chipotle is
Maybe
awful.
maybe you'll have Chipotle show up next week,
No,
right?
Chipotle has blocked and banned me from every social media channel. They have blocked
Really?
everybody. Oh yeah. See, Chipotle doesn't. Chipotle just silences people. They don't want to have a
They don't
dialogue.
want
They
to.
are
Wow.
awful. Yeah,
Wow.
they're awful. But Burger King, hats off to them.
Yeah,
Seriously.
that's amazing that they were willing to come out and actually visit, the real deal, and
Yeah.
to be a part of that. That's pretty cool.
Amazing. Yeah,
That's pretty.
Chipotle sucks. But yeah, like, and you look at somebody like Culver's. Like Culver's does such a great job too. So it's like I wish
Mhm.
more people would take that route where you're like, really celebrating the American family farm. So I appreciate that. I
Yeah,
appreciate people that do right by us, so we can do right by them.
yeah, very cool. Well, you have been watching Conversations in Agriculture. My guest has been Michelle Miller, also known as the Farm Babe. Michelle, thank you for being here and for joining us today on Conversations in Agriculture.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. This is the American Farm Network.